tonight, you know. I have been through persecution. Put up in our them sisters all still alive. Tell them, thank God I crossed more some people when most of them cross. Just stand up and say, oh me cross. Yo, let me tell you something. Jesus said when you send up the praises, the blessing of the pour down. Listen, when we leave our home, come here tonight to worship Jesus. So I said, they want to sweat up and wake up, just worship Jesus. Because some people never know you're wearing to see today. Some people never know, say, you would be here tonight. Tell them, say, you're not here by chance. You are a purpose. You are been through tribulation. Holy Ghost, I love the Jesus. You are been through persecution. I don't see a put up here and let them say, thank God I cross over. We are going to put a cross tonight. Oh, me cross over. Oh, me cross over. I have been through tribulation. I have been through persecution. And got me cross over. Big up Jesus, big up Jesus, big up Jesus, big up Jesus. Oh, me cross over. Walk out, walk out, walk out, walk out, walk out, walk out. Oh, me cross over. Hallelujah to God. Hallelujah to God. Tell him, I have been through tribulation. I have been through persecution. I got me cross. Some people used to tell us, say, oh, the people that now come out to the board. Tell them, say, upon this rock, I build my church. And the gates of him, holy cross. Big up Jesus, big up Jesus, big up Jesus, big up Jesus, holy cross. I hear you.
And a good night to Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, the rest of the Eastern Caribbean. My name is Sheldon Scott here with you up until the 10 o'clock hour. Once again, it is time for Talking Points. Want to say a special good night to all of you joining us via the YouTube, all of you joining us via the Facebook. Yeah, Kimita, I see you there. Cynthia B, Devon Charles, Teresa Gill, John Mark, Tegwa, Errol Bonaparte, Ingrid Bourne, Yvonne Courtney, good night to you. See all you all jumping in under, Nurse McGuire, good night to you. See all of you jumping in under the live on Facebook. Ziggy, good night to you. And to all of you under the YouTube, a special good night to each and every one of you. Kathleen Knights, Olive McEwen, Moko Joseph, Joyce Lewis, good night to you as well. Antonito, Roland Batiste, Dolores Redhead, Red Girl Pascal, Jay, Maud Martin, Fitlin Hallie Douglas, Carib Spice Fitness, Oswald Belfont.
Listen, when we leave our
Rosalind Jones, I see you.
Jesus.
Dominic Antoine, Faithlin Hallie Douglas, Anna Lewis, Deborah Laborde, good night. Denny Sandy, Fitzroy Edwards, and I see Fitzroy Phillip, Jerome Lewis, Cindy Thomas, Anne-Marie Grant, Clive Raymond, Christine Otley, Agatha Williams, Janice Mitchell, Jacinta Livingston, Listra Abraham, Chris London, I see you, man. Velma Pascal, Gemma Ward, Marilyn Ferguson, good night. Kathleen Ledlow, Sandra Pascal, Phyllis Mitchell, Claude Abraham, Alban Harris, Francis George. Good night to all of you under the light. Yeah, and before we get into today's Senate sitting, let me just give you all some reminders here. Yeah, don't want us to forget little Kelvin. Yes, his family is still trying to get him out of the island. So they're organizing, they need your help. If you can help, help. Yeah? So that's young 2-year-old Kelvin Warren Thomas. And he has been diagnosed with leukemia. Right? So they need your donations, whatever you can give. All right? So contact his parents via 420-4314 and 535-2110. You can donate at the Dropbox at CashWiz locations, and you can donate online via GoToFet. You know, just like you could donate to Talking Points via GoToFet, you can donate to this child at GoToFet. Yeah, you click on the GoToFet link. It tells you where you could enter your information and so on. There you enter your information. It is safe. It is secure. You don't have to worry about your debit card or credit card information getting out there. GoToFet is safe to use it on. They use an encrypted system. All right. Or if you are going into town, yeah, you're going around or you have somebody going, you can make a donation directly into the bank account. And that is Cooperative Bank account 321-005987. That's 321-005987. Yeah, just left it up a while so you all can get the number for the parents and the bank account number and so on. Yeah. Also, don't forget, it is coming up next week that the barbecue luncheon fundraiser of the new National Party St. Patrick East Branch that is taking place at the River Sally Hard Court. Yeah. And that will be starting at midday on the 29th and going up until at least 10 p.m. But I would say we're telling them that to go later than that. Barbecue chicken, barbecue pork, grilled fish on sale. All meals come with a selected sides of potatoes, salad, chow mein or rice. They have an ice cold bar waiting you. For more details, contact 533-8797. That's 533-97. And 415-8008. That's 415-8008. So remember that the St. Patrick East Branch of the new National Party, they've got their barbecue fundraising luncheon. So those of you in St. Patrick and surrounding areas, or even if you want to make a bus from town and go up there, all of that is our vibes, you know. It's an NP1 family.
Just stand up and say, Holy Cross.
Then remember the new National Party New York Support Group, they've got that brunch and it is happening on Sunday the 27th of April, so you have time enough to plan and organize 2025. Yeah, that's the day before Trinidad election and the day before the Canadian elections. Yeah, so that's Sunday, April the 27th, 2025. It's taking place at 302 East 91st Street between Lenox and Clarkson. And your donation is just $30. Music by DJs Jude and Small Clothes. For more information, contact Kathy on 347-262-6818. Wendy on 917-601-476. And Aisha at 917-520-3164. That's taking place Sunday, the 27th of April at 302 East 91st Street between Lenox and Clarkson. For a small donation of $30, music by DJs Jude and Small Clothes. Of course, you're going to be getting West Indian food and drinks on sale. It's the new National Party New York Support Group brunch. So make sure you can head on out to that one, folks. And Yeah, the eye clinic is back, you know. Yeah, the eye clinic is back. Yeah. Eyes on Grenada 2025. So the Grenada Medical Mission, they are back. And they have the clinics taking place. Let me see the location. Right. So at between April the 14th to 15th, April 14th and 15th, between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. that the Guelph Polyclinic. On the 16th, at the same time, they are at the Youth Center in St. George, and the 17th. So the 16th and 17th, they are at the Youth Center in St. George. On the 16th, they're there between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. And they're finishing earlier on the 17th at 3 p.m. So they're going to be down at the Youth Center. And indeed, they are offering free eye exams, free eye care medications, free reading and sunglasses. And they're doing cataract surgeries, but you must be pre-qualified. So those who already been to the Ministry of Health and they know they have to do the cataract surgeries, and so they will be attempting to do some of those at the General Hospital between the 14th and 17th. So they have one team in Guelph and then at the Youth Center, and our next team is going to be at the General Hospital in the same time frame. And of course, it is on a first come, first serve basis. So if you need it, head on out to there. And folks, also the new National Party Carriacou and Petit Martinique New York chapter presents the NNP Spring Brunch. Yeah, that's taking place Sunday the 13th of April 2025, 1 p.m. until you say when. 302 East 91st Street between Lennox and Clarkson. Music by DJ Gemini Songs. And the price only $30. And the hits in your Carriacou style. We could have in fried fish, chicken, pork, cuckoo, roll rice, macaroni pie, and more Saraka style food. All right, for tickets, contact Jacinta at 917-615-4918. Wilson at 917-754-1319. Nisha at 347-683-1997. And Carlos at 718-817-6722. So yeah, that's the new National Party New York and Carriacou Petit Martinique support group. They are having that activity, so you need to head on out there and lend them your support. Yeah. So let me just let you folks know, tonight we were supposed to have political leader of the new National Party, the Honorable Emlyn Pierre, was supposed to be on with us tonight, and due to unforeseen circumstances, she's been unable to make it, but she has promised that early during next week she will be on with us. In the interim, though, I thought it important to play not the entire thing, but bits of today's presentations in the Senate by our beloved senators. And I want to start first of all with the presentation by Senator the Honorable Mayana Charles. She did an excellent, she did an excellent job. And I want to start with her presentation tonight. And then we're going to take piece of that presentation, and then we're going to take piece of the presentation by Senator the Honorable Dwight Hosford. So let's start with the presentation from Senator the Honorable Mayana Charles. Okay, for some reason, you know the usual thing, what has happened with it? Yeah, you know the usual thing. Yeah, the volume does decide, it just going down to whatever level. Every time I try to play a video, he decides he does go down and do your own thing. So let me get it up now.
And with no hope in sight. Duty to our fellow brothers and sisters who, after being devastated by Hurricane Beryl, is still under tarpaulins and tents 9 months later. Madam President, this is the lived realities of our people, well, except for a select few. I rise because this budget must reflect their needs and the needs of every fellow Grenadian who all long for tangible developments. And I hope we can all agree on that. Madam President, before I continue, allow me to extend a warm welcome to the persons in the gallery, especially our students, welcome, as well as those tuned in online. And I will start where the pain is most acute, healthcare. Because when a nation's healthcare system fails, everything else crumbles. The family suffers. The workforce suffers, productivity suffers. Therefore, it is imperative that health is a priority. In fact, I must first commend this administration, and I'd like you to give yourselves a round of applause. And I know some may wonder why. Well, I must give you credit where it is due. They have truly mastered the art of grand announcements with little to no follow-through. They have perfected the skill of making mediocrity look like an achievement. And of course, their talent for overspending on travel and entertainment for themselves while underspending in critical areas for the people of this country is nothing short of deception, Madam President. And to go further, Madam President, if those trips brought significant financial benefit to this country, then this would not have been a remark in my contributions here today. In the 2024 estimates of revenue and expenditure, under the caption Strategic Overview, health and wellness was listed as the first strategic priority area for this administration. Number one, I know my friend said she wanted to hear 15, but you were listed as the number one strategic priority area for this administration. That is health and wellness. But Madam President, let's fast forward to the 2025 estimates of revenue and expenditure. Under the same caption, health and wellness has now been demoted to priority number 3. That to me is deeply troubling. And this is because in 2024, when health and wellness was listed as the number one priority, we saw nothing happening in the Ministry of Health. Nothing, Madam President. And the evidence is blatant. So in 2025, when we see health and wellness demoted to number 3, this is an indication that we are going from 0 to negative. And this is very concerning. So, Madam President, how can this administration claim to be one that truly cares for its people when by their own admission, they told the nation that the needle hasn't moved in healthcare? This sends a chilling message to the nation and blatantly tells us that the numbers on this paper here today means nothing to this administration. I'm sorry to have to say this, but this is what it shows. Because the very commitments made in 2024 were just words with no action to back it up, no follow-through. Nonetheless, I will still delve into the numbers, and in my contribution, I will round off the figures. Madam President, let us talk about the cold, hard facts, because the numbers don't lie. In 2024, this administration approved $122 million for health, and yet 24 million was left unspent. The year before that, 27 million was left unspent. So there is no excuse for not having had progress over the last 2 years. They had the money. It was approved in the budget, and yet not spent on critically needed services. That is 51 million total over 2 years. And I see all of them have their heads down. So I asked this administration, where is that money and why wasn't it spent? 51 million that could have been used to buy essential medication. 51 million that could have been used to repair or upgrade our health facilities. 51 million that could have been used to hire doctors and nurses so that our people don't have to wait hours in the emergency room or months for a surgery. Madam President, this 51 million is not just a number. It is a lost opportunity for our people. It pains me to say this now, and this makes me very emotional, but I wouldn't be surprised, Madam President, if some have lost their lives due to that. And now, we have yet another proposed budget for healthcare. And I cannot stop but wonder what will be done differently this third time around. And it seems that this administration has a pattern. One that places optics over outcomes. One that underspends in critical areas and overspends on travel with nothing substantial to show for these trips. Yeah. Madam President, let's take a closer look at the 2025 budget allocations for health under Vote 50. This year, the total allocation for the health sector stands at 159 million, with 94 million allocated to recurrent expenditure and 64 million to capital expenditure. At first glance, one might say, well, the budget has increased. But let's break it down, because the picture is not as pretty as they want us to believe. In 2024, the approved recurrent expenditure for health was 100 million, but only 88 million was spent, despite glaring and urgent need for better healthcare services. The 12 million that were left sitting there was not enough in the first place to resolve the severe shortages in medical resources and staffing. And now they come in 2025 and decrease the allocation for recurrent expenditure by 6.2 million. When compared to what was approved in 2024. Madam President, this does not even cover for the shortfall of the previous 2 years. So how is that improvement? Madam President, and for the benefit of the youths and everyone in the gallery, permit me to explain what recurrent expenditure is. Recurrent expenditure covers critical, non-negotiable, day-to-day expenses that keep our healthcare system running. It includes social benefits for those in need, salaries for doctors, nurses, and other healthcare workers, employee allowance, training and continuous education to improve healthcare delivery, maintenance of our hospitals, medical stations, and health centers, provision of essential medical supplies. Madam President, as I said earlier, the numbers don't lie. The budget tells us, yet again, that healthcare is not a priority for this administration, as evidenced by cutting the very budget that ensures our hospitals are staffed, our health centers have resources, and our people have access to the care they need. Tell us, who does this help? Is it that this administration no longer intends to provide medication for the poor? Is it that they no longer intend to make healthcare accessible to the most vulnerable? Is it that they no longer intend to correct the staff shortages? Madam President, I stand here right now, and I will list some additional facts. And I invite my colleagues on the other side to clarify or even verify some of them if they so desire. If someone comes in with a life-threatening condition, like a heart attack, for example, using that as an example, the hospital cannot confirm the diagnosis. Because a basic blood test, which is essential for confirmation, is simply not available. Let that sink in. Just a couple of weeks ago, I got a call from a friend to Madam President. She was frantic, she was desperate, because her loved one was in that exact situation. And do you know what broke my heart? Not just the fear in her voice, Madam President, but a cruel reality that in 2025, with an administration that claims to prioritize healthcare, we are still gambling with people's lives over something as basic as a blood test. Any given day, the lab is functioning at reduced capacity due to not having the test or reagents, or due to a broken machine. Basic tests are not available. Patients are forced, Madam President, to borrow money to pay for private labs out of pocket. And after all that, they must still pray that they have enough money left to buy medication they need, because the hospital has run out. 2 out of the 5 dialysis chairs offering life-saving treatment to our citizens battling kidney disease are not functional and have been done for months. There are medical stations that are just open once per month because of staff shortages. A number of community health centers, or facilities I should say, because they include medical stations as well, cannot be reached because the landlines don't work. Let it sink in. Imagine you cannot reach a medical facility because the landline not working. How can we call this a functioning healthcare system? Nurses who want to advance training are left without opportunities. Yet, this government, in the other place, boasts about training a handful of staff. Yes, it is better than nothing. But let us be real. It is grossly inadequate. And let me remind this chamber, some of the achievements listed in the other place began under the previous administration, the new National Party. So I ask, what has this administration done for healthcare? Madam President, our doctors are being held hostage by bureaucracy and intimidation. Their morale is at an all-time low. I will echo a shared sentiment of many healthcare providers. They said to me, it feels like if the Ministry of Health is at war with us. The ministry employees are saying that the ministry is at war with them. How do you expect them to work without tools and supplies? They are not magicians. They are one of our most valued resources. Madam President, it is very painful to speak about what people experience as healthcare services. Let me give you the most recent example. As recent as a few hours ago, there was an emergency transfer last night from Princess Royal Hospital with a patient. The General Hospital was informed of the transfer. Madam President, the boat took an hour and 45 minutes to get down to St. George's. On arrival at around 12:20 a.m. this morning, there was no ambulance waiting to receive the patient. Mind you, this is an emergency transfer. Madam President, after several calls by the nurse who accompanied the patient, still no ambulance. Members of the Royal Grenada Police Force at the Central Police Station, after recognizing for some time had passed and no ambulance, they came and inquired and also placed calls to the hospital to follow up on the patient transfer. Madam President, when water more than flour, someone, together with the police and the nurse, suggested using a private vehicle to transfer the patient. As they were about to do so, the ambulance was seen coming, arriving there at 1:10 a.m. Madam President, from 12:20 to 1:10, almost an hour waiting. And what was even more worse, the ambulance came with the driver alone. No nurse to receive the patient. The nurse from Carriacou has to now get into the ambulance and go to the hospital, which now further delay the departure of the chartered boat back to Carriacou. Madam President, these are the experiences of the people of Carriacou. It could have been any one of us on that boat. That is why it is so scary about the issues that confront this healthcare system. Madam President, this is the sad reality. Is this what we call a functioning healthcare system? Is this a transformation agenda? It has been 3 years with nothing to show for it. And while our hospital run out of medicine, while our lab shelves have no reagent to run vital tests, while equipment is down for prolonged periods, while our patients wait months for surgery because there is one anesthesiologist, while our healthcare workers cry out for help, this administration had 51 million at their disposal over the last 2 years and did absolutely nothing. Madam President, this administration is talking about a new hospital. Let me be clear. A new hospital is an asset for any country. It is a great strategy to have for the long term. But what about the short term? Tell me. Let me also be clear when I say that a hospital is not just a building. If we are only thinking about the hospital as a building and not a healthcare system as a whole, then we are going nowhere. This trend of missing the now and thinking in a unidirectional manner, while patients are literally suffering before our eyes today, is a lack of planning and foresight that we see time and time again from this administration. If you do not ensure we have specialists to treat our people, medication to heal them, diagnostic tests to detect diseases early, and adequate insurance ensuring access for all, then all we are doing is building a monument. Our people do not want a monument. They need a functioning healthcare system. They need their lives to be saved. For this project to come to fruition, I asked my colleagues on the other side of this chamber to kindly indicate the source of funding for the completion of this new hospital. Not for phase 1, but for the completion of the new hospital, since we are talking about hundreds of millions. My colleague on the other side, the mover of the motion, in his contribution, said that they are thinking about it to the end. So clarify for me, where is the funds coming from for the completion of this project? Not for phase 1. Do you intend to take more loans and plunge this country into further debt? Tell me. That's the only time I heard a comment from my colleague on the other side. When I was stressing all the deficiencies, you know? So he agreed to borrow in more money and plunging the country into further debt. Madam President, I want to put on record in this honorable house that I see no problem with backing down for the concept of a new hospital at this time and strengthening what we already have at a fraction of that cost and with instant benefits for our people. Madam President, I want to draw your attention to some disturbing numbers as it relates to our healthcare facilities. Line item, upgrade of health facilities. 1 million budgeted for health facility upgrade in 2025. We must not forget, in 2024, 1 million was approved for health facility upgrade. Only 175,000 was spent. Is the million for all the health facilities, or is it for a specific facility? Is this administration aware that we have 30 medical stations, 6 health centers, the General Hospital, Princess Alice Hospital, Princess Royal Hospital? Because if it is for all the facilities, then it is clearly not enough. And yet we are still not spending it. Line item, refurbishment of buildings. 300,000 is budgeted for the refurbishment of buildings. In 2024, 700,000 was approved. Only 478,000 spent. Which buildings? Can this administration give this honorable house a breakdown of the buildings that were refurbished in 2024? Line item, repair to Carlton House. In 2024, 500,000 was approved to re-establish Carlton House, a facility for persons suffering with substance abuse. $0 spent. Are you abandoning Carlton House and the right against substance abuse? Or is the 1 million budgeted in 2025 for the Maribor Rehabilitation Center intended to replace Carlton House? Please provide some clarity regarding this and give some details on the services that will be provided with a Maribor Rehabilitation Center and a timeline for completing this project. Line item, smart upgrade to hospital infrastructure. In 2025, 100,000 is budgeted for smart upgrade. Let's not forget, in 2024, 400,000 was approved, $0 spent. What happened there? Where has this money gone? Was it reallocated? Line item, reconstruction of Guelph Health Center. In 2025, 700,000 is budgeted for the reconstruction of Guelph Health Center and to restore the former building that was temporarily used during the health center construction. Last year, 700,000 was approved for this, Madam President, $0 spent. Madam President, I must raise a serious concern about the 700,000 allocated for the reconstruction of the Guelph Health Center. This is a new building. It is not an old, crumbling structure needing reconstruction. In fact, it was built less than 5 years ago. So if you intend to restore defects, then say so. Why name that line item reconstruction? Be transparent. Madam President, we need transparency. This government must explain how they are spending the people's money. Also, why is the Guelph Health Center not operating in its full capacity? It is my understanding that equipment that has been donated have gone missing. Where is the missing equipment? Line item, health centers and medical stations maintenance project. Madam President, while our health centers crumble, this government allocated a mere $150,000 in 2024 for health center and medical station maintenance. Out of that, only $48,000 was spent. Now in 2025, the same $150,000 is budgeted for maintenance. Let's break this down. As I mentioned before, we have 30 medical stations, 6 health centers. This means $150,000 divided by 36 facilities. This equates to $300 per month per facility. Madam President, $300 per month is supposed to maintain an entire health facility. What can $300 per month do in today's economy? Probably buy a can of paint. I don't know. Because I know painting is a thing for some. Now, this has to be a gross miscalculation. But let's entertain another possibility. Maybe, just maybe, there is another allocation hidden somewhere else in this budget for the exact same thing. And if that's the case, then why is this administration double dipping? Madam President, this is not a serious investment in healthcare infrastructure, and this 2025 allocation clearly shows us that. And I'm going to now move to chronic diseases. Madam President, let us talk about chronic diseases. Line item, National Non-Communicable Disease Control Program, which is supposed to tackle the main cause of death and disability in this country. The 2025 budget allocates a mere $125,000 for this. To put this into perspective for everybody here today, or as my good friend on the other side will say, context. Non-communicable diseases are chronic diseases and include conditions like diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, heart disease, cancer, asthma, and the list goes on and on. Based on health data from World Diabetes Federation in 2021, 1 in 7 adults, that is 10,000 adults in Grenada, has diabetes, and these numbers have since increased. Based on that data for diabetes alone, mind you, I listed a few chronic diseases, not even all. If we estimate that at least 60,000 people at some point in the year need chronic disease management, this allocation translates to a shameful $2 per person for the year. $2? $2 per citizen for the year? Can you think of anything that costs $2 a year? A year? And while this administration offers $2 per citizen per year, they have somehow found over $18 million for the so-called beautification and transformation program, overspending by $6 million. I will leave that for you to ponder on. So let me ask, am I missing something? Is there another allocation tucked away somewhere in this budget, specifically for chronic disease management? If so, I stand corrected. And I invite this administration to point me to that line item, because I would love some clarity. And if not, then let's call this what it is: misplaced priorities, lack of vision. Or I wonder if this is what transformation is all about. Madam President, if this administration is even remotely serious about health and wellness, they must increase this allocation. Because chronic diseases are not just numbers on a page. They are the reason people are in our hospitals, in our clinics, and struggling to survive every day. And if this administration does not see this as a priority, then perhaps my friends on the other side can explain how this budget treats healthcare on a whole as a priority. Medication. Madam President, I'm not sure if you're aware about the OECS PPS pooled procurement system, but I think it's my duty to explain to everyone. This is an arrangement where OECS countries collectively purchase medication and medical supplies in bulk to secure lower prices and ensure adequate distribution across member states. It is intended to be a cost-effective way to keep essential medication available and available to all. I think that it is necessary to explain this so you can understand, according to my friend, the context in which I am addressing this line item. I would like to draw your attention to page 851 for this line item. In 2024, this administration approved a mere $12,500 for this program, and not a single dollar was spent according to the budget. These are the figures presented to us, unless this budget have numerous errors, I don't know. Now, in 2025, the budget has an allocation of $112,500. Let's put that into perspective, or my friend will say context is key. So let me give you some context. In 2024, this administration allocated the equivalent of 1 cent per Grenadian for essential medication and supplies. Now in 2025, they have increased this to just $1 per Grenadian. Context is key. So here is the context. Madam President, this is not only an insult, but I do believe that you all will agree that this is far from addressing the pertinent problems in healthcare. How does this government expect to adequately stock our hospitals, health centers, and pharmacies with life-saving medication with just $1 per citizen? Really? Shortages? If this administration had properly allocated funds and utilize the OECS PPS program, our hospitals would not be facing medication and medical supply shortages to the degree and length at which it exists today. And that is a fact. And this is an obvious failure, Madam President, of identification of what are the priorities in healthcare. They cannot even identify it. So how can you remedy it? Madam President, let us now turn to the handling of grants. Grants are not loans. Am I correct? Are they loans? They are given to governments to support critical programs that directly impact the people. And they do not have to be repaid. Am I correct? All right. I draw your attention to page 850, capital expenditure by source of fund. In 2024, this administration approved 2.1 million in grants, but only 500,000 was spent. This raises critical questions. Did this administration send back the 1.5 million to the grantor because they failed to spend it on critical healthcare initiatives? Or is it that they failed to secure the said grants they budgeted for? I would like to have some clarity in this regard. Madam President, this is unacceptable and indefensible. While our hospitals run out of essential supplies, this administration failed to use 1.5 million in grant funding. While patients are being turned away because of lack of mattresses on beds in some of our wards, 1.5 million was left unspent in grant funding. How hard is it to use money that you don't have to pay back in areas where it is needed? Madam President, I would like to hear from this administration the steps that will be taken to prevent this from happening again in 2025. In democratic countries, governments are held accountable, no? Last time I checked, we are a democracy, but sadly, the lack of accountability will continue to lead us further south. Madam President, while essential areas on healthcare continue to suffer, this budget includes vague and questionable allocations that raise serious concerns about transparency and accountability. We see 1.5 million allocated for focused succession planning, yet there is no clear explanation of what this entails. Similarly, 300,000 has been earmarked for capacity building campaign. But is this money being spent on actual workforce development? Madam President, we need mattresses in our hospitals. We need reagents in the labs. We need medication on our shelves. We need landlines to be working. We need doctors and nurses to be taken care of. We need staff shortages to be bridged. We need the backlog of surgeries to be taken care of. We need those things today. In fact, we needed it yesterday. Speaking as a medical doctor and public health specialist, this healthcare budget needs to be revisited and restructured in view of all the things mentioned earlier, so that it can be impactful on the ground. Failing which, we will be sitting here in this very chamber, hopefully in 7 to 8 months from today, repeating the same outcry. Mark my words. Madam President, this is not an exhaustive list I have mentioned. There are much more issues that need addressing. But in the interest of the time allocated for my contribution, I am compelled to move on to the next topic. Youth and sports, vote 19. Madam President, you know what resonates at this time in Grenada? It is the reality that talent is everywhere, but opportunity is not. That is what resonates. What context is key. Across our tri-island states, young people brim with potential in the classrooms, on the fields, in the workplaces, in this very house. Look at all the students we have here today, in their communities. Yet, this budget does not meet them with the opportunities that they deserve. In fact, I see a harsh blow being served. Before I go any further, I would like to deal with numbers. And in 2025 budget, on the vote 40, we saw over 12 million in overspending in the division of youth. So if according to my friend on the other side, this is an area that is over budgeted, how do you explain the overspending? Tell me. I really want to know. You know what this issue distributed is for? It is to lock the door on the facts. So, Madam President, permit me through you to return this, where is it? On the other side. Because we here will not hide the facts. So permit me to return it, please. which is that we see a 40% cut in the division of youth from what they spent in 2024. And we see a 30% slash in the division of sports. Madam President, what message does this send to the young people of this nation? To the students in the gallery here today? Where is the government's commitment to youth empowerment, skills training, and job creation? Job creation. How does this administration stand there and try to justify gutting the very programs, like the Imani and my friend had a monologue on it, and others that serve as stepping stones for our youth to build a future? Please, do show this honorable House how is that contributing to the long-promised transformation beyond lip service? And I understand they no longer talk about the transformation. Madam President, my colleagues on the other side seem to be assessing and reading what the previous administration has done for the last 3 years, rather than acting. I am sure she may be needing the lenses soon that she walked in here with today. Let me say this, and I will quote from the member on the other side, because what she's reporting is not new. Context is key. If you haven't taken no new applicants into the program, how would you see an increase in the numbers? Tell me.
Charles, I believe, please pause. Senator Sybil has requested the floor. What is it, madam? Point of order. Microphone, please.
Madam President, I stand on a point of clarity.
Proceed.
Through you, Madam President, I would like the honorable member, Senator Charles, to please provide proof to this honorable House at which point during my speech I mentioned, and she said, the honorable member said, and I quote, that the budget for the Ministry of Youth or for the youth of Grenada is over budgeted. If that cannot be provided, Madam President, I would like for the honorable member to please retract the statement and stop misleading this honorable House.
Thank you. Senator.
Madam President, this is not a point of clarification, and I will not yield. I will continue with my debate, if you so permit me.
What did you say about the point of clarification requested?
I said, this is not a point of clarification, and if you would permit me, I will not yield. I will continue with my contribution. In the interest of time, I have 20 minutes left, and I still have a lot more to say.
It's a point of information. Are you saying you stand by your statement?
Yes, Madam President.
Proceed.
Thank you. And let us be clear. When it comes to sports, it is not just mere games. Sports is an ethic. Sports is a culture. It is a catalyst for change, a force for national pride, and a vehicle for economic mobility. When we cut sports funding, we don't just take away a ball or a field. We take away scholarships, international exposure, and professional coaching. Access to sports is not limited to youths, Madam President. It is for everyone in different age groups. It positively impacts our health. So when we cut budget in those areas, we are directly impacting health. Does this government not realize that sports is also a powerful tool in crime prevention, community engagement, and national development? Does it not recognize that every dollar invested in sports is a dollar invested in keeping young men and women healthy and away from the dangers of crime, drugs, and violence? Madam President, allow me to be frank. This is a policy failure, another missed opportunity, and a betrayal of our young people's future. This administration is one of rebranding, not innovation. If this administration was serious about youth development, it would invest, not divest, in their future. But instead of innovation, All we see in this budget is rebranding of old programs, repackaging with new names, but with the same NMP foundation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's talk specifics. The Empower program, started by the New National Party, designed to provide young men ages 18 to 35 with self-empowerment, holistic development, skills certification, and employment opportunities. In 2025, 3.5 million has been allocated. But in 2024, the approved allocation was 2.5 million, and only 1.1 million was spent. Only 1.1 million was spent. You can look at them, or should I repeat these numbers? Madam President, where is the accountability to our youths? I challenge this government to provide answers. How many participants enrolled in the Empower program in 2024? How many completed the program? How many secured employment and started businesses after completing the said program? You cannot claim to champion youth while underspending on youth programs and then turning around and cutting funding. Let us not forget, this is a nation where youth unemployment remains high. The medium-term fiscal framework report exposes this truth, and it goes further to tell us that our young women face higher unemployment rates.
So yes, folks, yeah, because I want to get not only Senator Mayana Charles in tonight, I also want to get in a bit of Senator Dwight Hosford, and I realized the audio and the video sort of went out of sync here. For those of you wondering, yes, Senator Mayana Charles did at the end retract the statements, although that was not the agreement that they came to. There was a break, and they went into discussions in relation to it. And when you listen to the presentation by Senator Francis, you would realize that she was trying to defend against the statement that was made by the New National Party side, that there is a reduction under the Ministry of Youth. There is a reduction in the amount of money that has been placed under the Ministry of Youth. And in her estimation, she is saying that they are looking at a new way. They are looking at youth development in a new way. Well, I don't know what new way. This administration has been in office 1,001 days now. Exactly 1,001 days they have been in office now. And there has been no new direction for youth except to the jail cell. There has been no new direction for youth except into unemployment. Every year since 2022, they came in June of 2022. There were students that graduated in July of 2022. You know, some schools have the graduation later down in the year. But generally, you know, by July, you have literally thousands of young people that are leaving the secondary school system and the tertiary school system, the TAMCC, the SGU, the NULO, and all the secondary schools. You have all those students that are leaving the school system. And some of them are seeking to enter the world of work. You had a similar situation in 2023. You had a similar situation in 2024. And in a few months from now, we'll have a similar situation. Have you seen any significant program done by this administration to absorb all those thousands of young people who have come out from the school system? They've put in place, they say now that the students must stay in school up until the age of 18. But what about those who have already left the school system over the past few years? How does that affect them? So there are various things that have to be looked at. So when we say you have done nothing significant in youth, and yet still, after having done nothing significant in relation to youth, they have still not even decided that, hey, we are going to address the issue of youth unemployment. And remember, youth unemployment is measured not just by who is unemployed, you know, who is not working. It's by people who are capable of working and looking for work. That is how you measure youth, unemployment in general. It's by people who are capable to work and are actively seeking a job. You don't measure the people who can work and they decide they're not working. Yeah, it's measured by the people who can work and are actively looking for a job. But we realize what they tried to do. Senator Mayana Charles was making absolute sense. And not only that, she was stripping, taking apart what it is you all have been putting in front of the Grenadian people as truth. And she was doing an excellent job at it. What you all decided to do, because see, you also showing on the other side, is that you all had to find a way of distracting her to get her off of her speech. But I want to commend Senator, the Honorable Dr. Mayana Charles. I want to commend her for being able, even after they distract her, not to come back and she's trying to find where she has to be, and so to come back and be able to immediately fall right back in line with what she was saying, and to be able to come back and explain, because while they may not have used the exact words, while Senator Francis may not have used the exact words, she imputed the statement that was attributed to her by saying that all the last administration, they were doing all these programs, and these programs, the ministry was too heavy with programs and that sort of thing. They're too heavy with programs. So you mean, for you to be looking for programs, other countries adopting programs here, you saying that the Ministry of Youth in Grenada had too much programs? Why you think the youth parliament that only go and sit down in and go and taking all the picture and thing with, where you think that came? That was a program under the Ministry of Youth. Now we understand, due to the statements that she has been making, why there is no youth enterprise program right now. Why young people are not getting the opportunity to go and do their training, as used to happen under the NNP. They could go and do their training in business studies under the GIDC, and so together with the Ministry of Youth conducted such training together. GDB was involved as well. And then after persons got to the point where they did their training, they were able afterwards to go and get funding under the GDB. The money was the Ministry of Youth owned, but it was placed under the GDB, and several young people were able to get their funding. Ask them, where are those young people now? You can ask the New National Party, because when the NNP was in office, we had people that visited these people on a monthly basis. They would check their books. They would follow up with them. They would offer advice and guidance to keep the businesses running. What is taking place now? We have no idea. We don't know if those businesses still existing, if the loans have been paid. We don't know what is taking place, because this government just decided, nah, there's nothing from NNP, we ain't bothering with that. Now we hear they're trying to put some money back to say they're going back to deal with youth enterprise and that sort of thing. They should have never stopped it. There was a youth business center in St. Mark. They probably didn't want Dr. Charles to speak about that. There was a youth development, business development center where young people from St. Patrick and St. Mark and St. John, and if you feel you want to come up from St. George, you could have done it too. There was a youth business center located in St. Mark, which was staffed by staff from the Ministry of Youth, where a young person with a business idea could have gone and had a business plan created for them. They could take this business plan and they could go to the GDB, or they could have gone to one of the commercial banks, or they could have gone to the credit union, because we had qualified staff that were there that would help them to put that plan together, a proper plan. Because usually if they're going for a loan in relation to business, they don't just say, what you want to do? Oh, that sounds good. Look the money. No, you have to come with a business plan that show what are the inputs, what your clientele looks like. Are you qualified to run a business like that? All the different aspects of it that go into a business plan. And the Ministry of Youth had that there. And at the point in time of the general election, had begun the outfitting of a new site in St. David, in Beaton, in St. David, for the same thing to be replicated now on the East Coast. You had one on the West Coast, they were doing one on the East Coast. And they could have still been helped through the Grenada Youth Center. So you had a place in the South that they could have been helped as well. All of that was destroyed by this NDC administration. Because some of us don't talk about it is why people don't know. But all of that was destroyed by this NDC administration. There were various other programs. Under Project Fly, you had young men that received their computers and the weed eaters and the blowers and all these different things to do their landscaping. You had young people under the Imani program and under various programs of the Ministry of Youth that learned to drive small equipment, like the little tractors and those kind of thing, and excavators and so, that was certified as drivers and operators of these equipment through the Ministry of Youth during the period of time of the New National Party. So when somebody makes a statement that you had too much program under the Ministry of Youth, it are no speaker here, it are no president and no senate here. They can't tell me I lie because I will pull the thing and play it, you know me. When you make a statement like there were too much programs, it shows you don't know what you're talking about. You have distanced yourself from reality. Either willingly or unwillingly, but you are distanced from the issue of sense and sensibility. What this government should have been doing is seeking to improve upon what was there. And if you want to introduce more, you introduce more. You could never have too much programs for young people. They say that you have to think some of them programs and some of them you rename them and some of them you strip them. Some of them you just push them in a closet. And all the documentation was there. So you can't say you didn't have documentation in relation to those things. And the staff that helped put those things together in consultation with the young people of this country. This wasn't the new National Party cabinet sitting down and saying, this is what we want for young people and that is what we want for young people. You know. This was done through consultation with young people. From Petit Martinique to Point Saline. It was done in consultation with them. It's young people that said, the young men on the block that said, we want a program for fellas. Look, the fellas would look at you, they say, look, it's ever, you know me, I'm in trouble already, but look at this one here, you go get yourself in trouble. I want to see him involved in a program and so, and we think you need to do something for these young people like that. And that's how Project Fly and Empower and all of these programs, that's how they came about. That's how you had the program that was running in the prison. So that when these young people that find themselves in problem and get into prison, when they're coming out from the prison, that there is something for them, that there is some guidance for them, that they have received some sort of training, that they have improved from the person going in, that they have improved in a positive way, because you could improve in a negative way too. You could become a better bad man. But improved in a positive way. But then you come and say, where is the prison program right now? Let's ask that. Where's the prison program right now? Where's the engagement of the Ministry of Youth with the staff at His Majesty's prison? Where's the engagement with the ministry, with the young men who are on the blocks right now? Where's the engagement? So to make a statement that, oh, there was program heavy, what stupidness you're talking? No, I mean, I can't be a wrong thing there. You know. Can't tell them straight. Stupidness you're talking, you don't know what you're talking about. If you can't handle it, just come to us and say, hey, NNP know what I was doing, but we can't handle it. Just say that. But don't come and try and talk down to what the new National Party was doing. There are fellas right now driving backhoe, right, operating backhoe and excavators and so that got their certification through the new National Party. Fellas doing landscaping, fellas doing surveying, guys doing all different sorts of things. And they got their certification through programs under the last new National Party administration. But you know what they've been doing lately? They've been trying to wipe the internet of all these things. So if you go back now and you're trying to find videos to prove, hey, this was something under the new National Party and so, I realized they've been scrubbing the internet. It's a good thing I have my own internet. Anyway, folks, we're going to take a short one now from... But before we go to that, let me see if I could find this here. I just want to remember there's one activity that I did not get to mention to you all. Let me just pull it up here. And that is the After Work Lime. Yeah, because that is taking place. Yeah, that is taking place pretty soon. I think it's next week. Yeah, the After Work Lime will be taking place. So I just want to get that one to you all. Right. Yeah, the after work lime important to know. All you understand why? Yeah, the after work lime is very important. All right, so that's the after work lime, and that is taking place on the 28th of March, and it's going to be taking Friday, the 28th of March. Yeah, that should be next week, Friday. Right. And it is taking place at the new National Party headquarters in Tempe. Food and drinks on sale. Yeah, and you know you could come and play your dominoes, your cards, and all kind of things. If you look at beat Dr. Mitchell in dominoes, come. Now, next thing he and Dr. Charles, they and so they might, yeah, they'll team up on you, you know. So that's going to be taking place at the new National Party headquarters in Tempe, starting from 4 p.m. And they're going to be food and drinks on sale. So come on out and support that one. So, folks, what I want to do now is I want to take a bit of Senator the Honorable Dwight Hosford. I want to get a bit of his presentation, and then after that, we are going to have a small discussion again. So let's take a bit of Senator the Honorable Dwight Hosford right now, and then we'll be right. We'll meet him. We're not going from the start. We're meeting him in full flight. So let me just get that queued. All right, nice.
We need to take a look at that. Oh, as I indicated earlier, Madam President, Table 1 is key to understanding, in my view. No fancy formulas and jargon, economic jargon. Table 1 is key to understanding what is being proposed and how the variables that they have set out here, from recurrent revenue to recurrent expenditure, flow into this overall balance that we are told will be contributing to the reserves. It remains a mystery to me how the overall balance will be so contributing to the reserves in relation to what now follows. I fail to see how that will occur as projected, Madam President, when the size of the civil service is increasing, massive pension payments have to be made and are being made, massive salaries are being paid, official traveling is up and at unprecedented high levels. And look at this in the document. Revenues are projected to decline over the period. All these things militate against building revenues or even achieving a surplus over that same period. In terms of recurrent revenue, there's some observations I make here as well, Madam President. Just indicated that revenues are forecasted to decline relative to the amount provisionally collected in 2024. It's in the document. So if we are doing so well, how come you're projecting less? How come you're projecting revenue decline? Storm signal. Storm signal. That reminds me of, perhaps, Madam President, you may be familiar with that work. Very seminal piece of economic developmental treatise by Cathy McAfee in 1991 called Storm Signals, Structural Adjustment, and I think it's Development Alternatives in the Caribbean. And one of the storm signals is indicated in the budgeting process of small island developing states when there is projected steady downward trend over a course of 2 to 3 years in revenues. Has to be a storm signal. You could dance, you could spin it how you want, you PR and so on. It's a downward trend in revenue collection It means that you'll be intaking less over the period, particularly in relation to expenditure over the same period. In short, a mouthful of English, we could be looking at going into a hole, financial hole. But shortly I'll demonstrate why my friends are not too worried about the shorter, earlier part of that period of projected decline in revenues. Madam President, the CBI cash cow, and I remember indicating to one of my colleagues, the feeding frenzy that we now see with the CBI is kind of reminiscent of when they had offshore banking and it was about to decline. Feeding frenzy is a surge before its decline. This too, this cash cow program is already starting to see the beginning of Waterloo days. CBI has already deteriorated significantly. And, Madam President, the conduct of, there's a backstory to it. The conduct of OECX governments who operate this program in trying to undercut and outcompete one another including Grenada, has resulted in adverse consequences for all of us. I believe, if not this month, sometime very soon, the OECS authority and the ECCB are meeting, I think, here in Grenada regarding the proposal of having a joint CIP or CBI approval system. I think these are responses to the transparency and other pressures coming from the European Union and the United States. All no doubt linked to that practice I just mentioned. And so it must be appreciated that the CBI is on a decline. Applications for the program are on the decline. This was apparent at the end of 2024 compared to 2023. It's looking bleak. In terms of the global picture, capital expenditure, I see it is expected to increase over the 2024 levels, but it is expected to trend downward very sharply, from almost 500 million to just about 200 million by 2027. Given the obvious necessities, infrastructural needs and otherwise, why a trend downwards? Just now when I made reference to McAfee's seminal work, there are three pillars for developing states' advancement perhaps towards a clear picture of even possibly becoming first world nation status, as Trinidad declared some time ago, I think in 2002, 2005 under Patrick Manning, that they were heading in that direction. The developmental model must follow and root itself on 3 pillars: investment, substantial investment in infrastructure, healthcare, education. And education, that aspect of educational instruction and learning that will place developing states within an appreciable range of technical competitiveness. All of that fancy thing broken down to mean more skills training and relevant modern technical skills training. So that you can move with the times. But as to that pillar of infrastructural development, I think it is beyond useful argument by anybody that there are serious infrastructural needs that must be met in this country, particularly in our road and drain networks, right now. You have to look at the way the language is couched. 2024, by 2027, and over the period. Okay? So why the downward projection in 2027, the sharp cliff-hanging fall? What event, Madam President, is to happen between 2025 and 2026 for the sharp increase in that expenditure and then the abrupt drop in capital expenditure by 2027? What event? What causing that surge and then drop over the course of essentially what? A year? Bearing in. I could see that here. Can only be one thing, Madam President. But why the smoke and mirrors? The government has no serious or original infrastructural developmental program. All public works projects in tow have been negotiated for and commenced by their predecessor. Your business is to dutifully carry them out and see them to fruition, expeditiously so too. Well, you ask for the obligation. You ain't doing nobody favors. And let me tell you, you have an obligation to service to the public. You ain't doing nobody favors to the public. So they have already dismantled certain legal requirements, in my respectful view, Madam President, when I mentioned what obtained before under Fiscal Resilience Responsibility Act, and now, same acronym, but just a different name, Fiscal Resilience. So certain legal requirements that was there before, gone. Those that were under the Fiscal Responsibility Act. For example, now, I see, and I had occasion to comment on it when this bill came here before. Last year, I think it was. Certain levels of projects would not be put before public procurement, the public procurement process. Now, before, the threshold, I think, was 15,000 above, and it is moved to 100,000, anything 100,000 and above, and then you'll go to the open public procurement process. You see, Madam President, the threshold, the low threshold that was there before, there was a reason to it. And that threshold was not indigenous to Grenada. A number of other countries with a similar fiscal responsibility legislation had similar low levels. Why? Why? Because it was self-regulating. In that it avoided unfairness and corruption in the distribution of certain public works projects and other construction. That is why it was so low. That's why it was so low. Now basically you could handpick friends and who will get whatever is available within the 15,000 to the 100,000 range. And I suppose very shortly there will be a surge in expenditure in that regard. That is the driving force behind this. Because, Madam President, none of the numbers that I see here, when I look at the trend that is unexplained, none of the numbers relate to the strategic priorities stated on page 10 of the document. Smoke and mirrors. Madam President, thank you. The strategic priorities on page 10, although stated in broad terms, are of critical importance. Because I began by indicating that the budget must also explain, elaborate, articulate government's programs which they intend to keep the economy buoyant and promote growth in the territorial economic space that we have in Grenada, Carriacou, and Peter Martin. And so, when you look at the figures when properly analyzed, closely examined, no programs are elaborated or spelled out. That's why we are able to discern downward trends, sharp expenditure increase and then fall. We know what's going to happen. And I think it is a misfortune, a great misfortune, that these things have not been explained as to how they relate to the strategic objectives. Now, in terms of the financial outlook, now, looking from abroad, I see in another place the situation of beginning and planning the budget from the position of a current account surplus. As being cheerfully commendable. Well, Madam President, you're supposed to start from a current account surplus. You're supposed to start from a current account surplus. So yes, it's commendable that you're doing the right thing. You're starting at the right place. But it is important to note, Madam President, before we start ringing bells and whistling over very fundamental things that the unsuspecting public might, when they listen to the gallery, might think it's some great achievement. It's important to appreciate what is there. If you're starting from that position, you're starting from a position where your current revenue is bigger than your expected expenditure. That's good. You have to start there. Now, usually with those surpluses, you'll have room to pay, or maybe contribute something to capital expenditure, or pay something on a loan. And though it is a good starting point, you need to have something more. You're nowhere close to achieving real growth merely by starting where you're supposed to. You have to go a little further there. You need more.
Yes, indeed, folks. And we will be rebroadcasting the entire of Senator Dwight Hosford's presentation tomorrow morning from roughly 10 a.m. We'll be broadcasting his entire presentation. But as you know, we limited on our time tonight and so. And I know I did see a couple of people try to call us already. Camille Teresa Scott, good night to you and hope you're having a wonderful night. My dear Mammy George, all of you, I hope you're having a wonderful night. We still have roughly half an hour remaining on tonight's program. Yeah, roughly half an hour remaining on tonight's program. And I will be taking your calls and so. Yeah, and wow, but as soon as I say that, we have a call online. Hello, good night. Hello.
Hey, good night.
Yes, sir. Go right ahead. You're live.
Yeah, I've been trying to listen, Senator Charles, although the video and the audio wasn't corresponding.
Yeah, I realized that late. Yeah.
I was trying to listen carefully, but I never heard she identify anybody on the other side. She said a colleague on the other side. I don't know why they was calling her to recant any statement that she made. She didn't identify nobody individually on the other side.
What they were doing, my friend, is they were doing a tactical.
And do they still carry the same? They carry the same pattern in the Senate as in the Parliament?
Yes.
Well, then I heard the speaker made mention to the honorable opposition leader by name. She called other members by name also. But I didn't hear Senator Charles mention anybody's name.
Okay, because you see, you can refer to people by name in the Senate because remember, while in the House of Representatives you are representing a particular constituency. In the Senate, it's Senator the Honorable so-and-so, Senator the Honorable so-and-so. So you could call people by their name within the Senate and so. But I understand where you're coming from, but understand the tactic was simply this. Senator Mayana Charles was destroying their budget. She exposed a lot of their stuff in relation to health, youth development, etc. They had to find a means of making something else the focal point. And I'm sad to say that the Grenada Broadcasting Network has disappointed me. I was kind of, over the last few months and so, I was kind of, okay, they do a good story there, they do a good story. Doing an entire story on a point of order where somebody had to retract a statement is political in nature. It is when the media house becomes a participant in the political debate and not a reporter of the political debate. That happens in Parliament, every Parliament that happens. That has happened.
It's a global issue.
No,
it's a global issue.
No, I'm even looking at global, I'm looking at here in Grenada. I was in parliament when people had to take back statements. I made people take back statements. That never make news. You know why? That is not the important thing. The important thing there was the budget discussion. So the reporters from GB and whoever it is in charge there didn't even bother to listen to anything Senator Mayana Charles had to say, okay, this is a story here, or that is a story. The whole story is one person on the other side disagree with what she said, and even after they made a particular decision in chambers behind, they changed that when they came out, but we saw that happen with the House of Representatives too. And she recanted the statement because it makes no sense you're back and forth to them and your time going and you need to stop and everybody inside there. You just recant and you go ahead with your presentation. So she recanted the statement. She clarified what she understood what the other member was saying to mean, and she went ahead with her presentation. How does that become the news and not what she was saying about the Ministry of Youth, not what she was saying about the Ministry of Health, not what she was saying about the budgetary figures? How does what took place there become the news, except if you, the media house, becomes a participant in the political debate?
When I say that, when I say that global thing that is happening, that is how the news media does these days. Put their finger on the scale. They don't give you a fair referee game. They push the narrative.
I'm saying that I've been pretty impressed with a lot of their reporting recently, but they fall down day to night. They fall down day to night. That is lazy reporting. I'm saying it as it is. I've been involved in various aspects of the media for close to 30 years now. You could tell me age. Close to 30 years now I've been involved in various aspects of the media. That, my friend, is lazy reporting.
But then we could quicker get the video of what happened than we go and get the hard sad from the Senate. Easier to get the video.
But, again, I don't think that, and it's what's happening here is you had an incident took place at the House of Representatives, and people, just like we are doing now, and we need to get off it in the next minute or half a minute, people started discussing the incident. They didn't discuss anything else that was said by the individual involved in the incident or anybody else in the chamber during that sitting. So people left focusing on that issue and not focusing on what was being said in the chamber. And again, we see that becoming the issue again with the Senate. And believe me, there were some excellent presentations in the Senate from both sides. Not that the government side was speaking the truth, but it was presented nice. So there were some excellent presentations from both sides in the House today. And instead of focusing on that, this is just totally lazy reporting. That's just my view in relation to it, and I'm entitled to my view.
Yeah, but what I was looking at basically is that they're trying to cover what she was saying to make her recant it when it was a fact.
Well, it is a fact. They can't tell me no.
So,
but anyway, my brother, you enjoy the rest of your night.
All right, have a great one and have a blessed weekend, man.
Same to you, brother. 440-7377-347-329-3101. Yes, we'll take your calls. Yeah, and we're going up until the 10 o'clock hour. So hope that you all are having a fabulous night tonight. Yeah, the whole thing has been always come up with these different things to take away from the main discussion. You as a Grenadian, what you want to know, and I believe I know what you want. Yeah, I believe that I know that. What you want to know is how does this budget affect you on a daily basis? How does it affect the price that you pay when you go to the supermarket, or you go to the village shop, or you go to the corner store? When you go there, well, now, all in states that's going to the corner store, but we have much corner store here. But when you go into those places and you have to dip into your wallet or your bag or your purse, or as some of the old people in your bosom, when you have to dip to pull out that money to pay, that you will be able to cover all the items that you have in front of you comfortably, that you would be able to feed your family. You want to know, how does that budget affect you in that way? Is it going to make it harder for you? Is it going to make it easier for you? You want to know what is being done to protect you down the road. Because while you might be able to dip in your pocket and be able to handle the payments now, what happens 4 months down the road, 3 months down the road, 6 months, a year. How are you going to be able to cope if certain things take place? What guardrails, what measures is the government putting in place to protect you? And instead of that, some people want to focus on other things. We have a caller online. Hello, good night.
Brother.
Hey, man, what go?
What you doing that day, man?
Yeah,
I totally agree with you with what you say. Like, that group is bent on distraction from the real key points. Yeah, she did a wonderful presentation. The gentleman did also, and there was one dude that represent the unions.
Yeah, that's Senator Andre Lewis. Yeah.
Like there was some points that he made that actually went with your guys, like what you guys say, what the team is saying in it.
But I didn't get a chance to listen to him. I was out and about, so I didn't get a chance to listen
to him.
I'll listen to him tonight when I get home, but I didn't get a chance yet. Yeah.
Okay, so there was an important takeaway there, and maybe I want some clarity on it. Now, if it is that when that guy presented, my bad, my apologies, sorry if you're listening. When the dude brought the paperwork suggesting that this is sort of college attendance and all that, right? Now, if it is that you made made it mandatory for individuals at a certain age to go to school, wouldn't that clearly affect the stats?
Of course it will,
in
because
terms of enrollment?
then immediately that category of people, remember I told you how you look at the stats for that, It's not just the people available for work, it's the people available and looking for employment. So it's not just the people who are working, but the people who are working and looking for employment. That's what you how you have to calculate it, that's how you have to look at it.
Yeah. The last thing I want to say, leaving, I am very appalled by my fellow Grenadians. Well, that co-signing all the ludicrous behavior, all the deception. Like Dr. Key tell you, don't go touch the bridge at the top. You go there, you have to incur some losses, you have to spend more money. He tell you, don't touch the road so because you have some pipe work, network thing. You don't listen, you go to do that. There's a lot of things that people said not to do, and they continue to do it. And there are individuals who signing it like they happy. And I'm saying, hold up. I was engaged in a conversation today. I think it was Lisa Woods or something like that on GIS, signing up for the team, more or less to a point where I said, okay, well, you what? If it is that the only color I identify with is black and blue. So, but melanin, I actually use melanin. So she responded by saying some kind of crazy thing based on the conversation in the debate. The individual responded by saying, well, here what? Well, you're playing all this thing, but I hope you keep the same energy if the streets go red. And she actually said that it was like the RGPF would be interested in taking this information because like a threat. So I said, how is it that the RGPF would be interested in that, and they talking about the MP that's talking about cussing up the police and stuff? How come that ain't interesting to them? You have the nerve in it. So that kind of silent that for a bit. But the relation to this is what I'm saying is like they have their parties online distracting you in the comments or trying to be distractions in the comments, so you don't take away the real key points, which definitely everybody should be paying attention to.
Exactly.
You get me?
I see again, Faru, that is why, and some people may say that I operate kind of in a particular way. That is why I do not tolerate people coming in the comment section on this program to create a distraction.
Yeah.
I don't tolerate it. The moment they get inside there and I realize they're only there to be rude, disrespectful, and create a distraction, I owe them nothing. I am going to kick them out. I'm not tolerating that in the comment section on my program. That's why people feel free to come and talk and be comfortable to come in the comment section here, because they know that kind of nonsense that take place other places will not take place here. I don't tolerate it. I have no problem just blocking a person. No problem.
Facts. Listen, Grenadians, stop being selfish. Remember the people that have have a way of making it out, they still have to put homage and pay respect to the NMP because them that put them in that position. Some of them that teaching and get scholarships. Remember, I tell you, I used to do some of them schoolwork from. So I know some of them working with. You get me?
I could name who.
And I find it's disloyal and distasteful. You know what I mean? No disrespect to some females that get all your cosmetology and them kind of sitting there. But the reality is those businesses are not really lifesavers in comparison to business opening. So even that they're using that as stats because they get somebody to open some beauty shop or hair salon and granted, okay, you can stimulate some sitting. But I guarantee, fam, if there was a ban on hair wigs coming into Grenada for like a year, the GDP would change. Fado. Fado. They try to trick us, but you know. Hold on. One thing. They was talking about the culture stuff. You know, I'm disappointed that Mervin. There was a Rasta man named Mervin used to beat the drum like every morning 6 o'clock on the lane, innit? Lotus Lane.
Yeah, I know you're talking about. Yeah.
I haven't seen him in this culture thing, and it's mad disappointing because he's like an originator of them kind of sitting there.
You know, people used to go and complain to the police.
Madness. Yes. That guy,
complain.
I would have liked to see him in the independence or at least celebrated as a original culture man. Well, maybe he's a Rasta thing, so they're tripping on him. So I don't get why the NDC supporters are saying like posing with illegal substances, cussing off the police, telling blatant lies doesn't trigger you guys. But an individual saying that's a lie, a fabrication of terminological inexactitudes. Let me be politically correct with you guys because all they think, all they know, it's all they get me.
Mm-hmm.
That triggering you guys so much that all they talking about police and make police check this and RBG or RGPF check this and that. All they playing with, but no disrespect to Sheldon, I would have tell her to go and perform some Philly show and something, but respect.
Bye-bye, father.
More time.
Bless up, bro. Yes, indeed. And he did mention something there, and I'll get to that in a while. But again, we need to know what the budget is doing for us. You might be in a position that you want to buy a vehicle. You want to know that if the situation is such that you can be able to, 1, purchase the vehicle, 2, service the vehicle, and 3, buy the consumables for the vehicle. The oil, the gas, the brake fluid, the brakes, all of those things. You want to be, the tires, you want to be able to be in a position to be able to handle those things. So you want to know how the budget is helping you to do that, or if it's putting you further in a hole that if you buy the car now within 6 months, you can't maintain it. You want to know what the budget has in it for you. That is what we, the members of the new National Party, have been trying to do. You heard Senator the Honorable Dwight Osford. Yeah? He went into different aspects of the budget because there's a lot of deception and unconception taking place when it comes to the 2025 budget. So he was going into it and explain. You listen to Dr. Mayana chat, the same thing. You listen to Senator Nolan Cox, same thing. He exposed a lot of stuff that was happening in Carriacou and especially in Petit Martinique that a lot of folks did not know was taking place. So it's important to listen, and tomorrow morning we'll be playing, for those of you that are subscribed to the page, tomorrow morning from 10 a.m. we will be playing the full presentation of Senator the Honorable Dwight Osford, and over the weekend we'll be playing various programs from this week. I think a lot of folks need to hear the Honorable Kate Skeeter Lewis Peters last night, and in particular, although she spoke about a lot of other things, I want folks to hear in particular her explanation in relation to the constituency fund. Because a lot of folks out there still feel it's a situation that an MP have a set of cash in hand, and the Prime Minister went in Parliament and give that impression as well, knowing full well that is a checkbook, that is, it comes through an account. The account is set up in the name of the constituency because it's not set up in the name of the MP, you know. It's set up in the name of the constituency. MPs come and go. MPs come, MPs go. But if you have an account for the constituency, all you have to do is change the signatories. And then you present all your invoices, all your receipts and everything. You present everything up to the House of Parliament so that they know. But you have the Prime Minister saying that he ain't getting a report. Who the hell is he to get a report? He is not the Parliament. He is a creature of the Parliament, but he is not the Parliament. So when I heard the Prime Minister standing up in Parliament and speaking about, oh, I hear some of them, they're talking about they're grateful for the money, but I ain't see no report. You don't have to see a report. The report has to go to the parliament. And then the parliament would make the report available to you and any other person that needs to see it. If you even need to see it. Because again, this is a creature of the parliament. The fund is a creature of the parliament. You, as a prime minister, you are a creature of the parliament. You are created through the parliamentary process. The parliamentary process is not created through you, and you are at pains to try and describe that. So you should understand that you ain't have to see no invoices, and not because you see it mean that's how it doesn't exist. It just means that you ain't see it. Quarterly reports, when the quarterly reports go in, the clerk and the Speaker of the House would have it. And from the Speaker of the House and whoever else is on that committee, they would have the documentation. And if there are questions, I would assume that it has to be that there's some sort of concern in relation to some area, probably a thing that somebody used money for something they shouldn't use it for. And if that's the situation, then yeah, then you go and you check on that. But other than that, I'm trying to understand where you're coming from. Absolute nonsense. But folks, we have roughly about 10 minutes more. I'm willing to take your calls. 10 minutes more. 440-7377, 347-329-3101. Those are the numbers for you to call and get onto the inside. So let me just give you the quick reminders here. Yeah, let me just give you the quick reminders. Wait, now we're meeting go here. Hey, come back here. On to you. Hey, we're running and go. Right, nice. Yeah, just remember this particular one. Yes, Kelvin need your help. Watch little Kelvin. Yes, watch little Kelvin. Make sure the boy need your help. Need your help. I'm a father. I'm an uncle. I'm a cousin. I'm a brother. Yeah? I can't watch a little child like that and not do all that I can do to try and assist. Yeah? I can't. I can't just watch and do nothing. And I try to understand how this administration, right now, this family should not have been there having to go through this process. This child should have been out months ago. They should have been out months ago. When it comes to finding a seat for the cameraman to go and follow the prime minister, like if he's Beyonce, to go and take the pictures, then we'll put it back up, man. Yeah, so you get the information. When it comes for them to find the funds for a cameraman to follow the prime minister, to snap pictures of him and to get videos of him. When it comes for them to find the money to pay for the hotel for a cameraman. When it comes to them to find the per diem that they have to receive and to feed them. So the plane tickets is not it alone. It's the plane tickets. It's the transportation. It's the per diem. It's the food, etc. They find money for that. But a 2-year-old with leukemia, and the parents have to be out here fighting up. Right now, folks, if you can help, help. Yeah, if you can help, help. Millions additional in relation to transportation. Millions in relation to transportation. But when it comes to helping a child, these folks are not doing it. I'm upset about it. Believe me, I'm upset about it. We have the St. Patrick East barbecue that's taking place on the 29th of March. That's next week, Saturday. So make sure those of you that can make it, you know, some of you may be Saturday worshipers. So next week, Saturday, those of you that can make it, head on out to the River Sally Hard Court. They're starting at midday and they're ending late. Yeah. So make sure you get your barbecue chicken. And for those of you that do partake in pork and grilled fish and so on. Hey, I know barbecue breadfruit and yam na. Anyway, you got some Rastaman, they might want to come through in a barbecue yam and breadfruit and thing. All right, and all meals come with the salad and chow mein and etc. Right, so I think will be nice. Right, so looking forward to that one as well. And then, folks, we have the brunch that's coming up, the eye clinic. Remember, mark the date. The dates for the eye clinic, that is coming up as well. Let me show you all that one. Keep the dates in mind. Guav, those of you in St. Mark, St. Patrick, and especially those of you in St. John, remember, between the 14th and the 15th, so the 14th and the 15th of April, they'll be at the Guav Polyclinic. So make sure that you all take the opportunity to go and sort out your eyes. Those of you that need to do the cataract surgeries and so contact your doctors so that during the period the 14th of April to the 17th of April, you may be able to have your eyes done. Make sure. All right? Nice. Yeah, it might be an opportunity for you to get that done. Nice. And let me see what else we have here. Yes, the brunch. That's coming up on the 13th of April, the Carriacou Petit Martinique branch of the New National Party. That's taking place on the 13th of April. And remember, you have the After Work Lime. Yeah, the After Work Lime is coming up as well. Let's see if we can have that here. Nice. The After Work Lime. Why this thing open like that? Open proper thing? Yeah, right. The After Work Lime. That is taking place next week, Friday. All right, starting from 4 p.m. at the New National Party headquarters. And so, yeah, so that's going to be a nice one as well. So, well, it doesn't make sense to take any more calls right now. Now it's time to wrap up, actually. Yes, indeed, folks. So it's been wonderful being here with you all this week and interacting with you all for days that I was able to come in, because indeed we thought it important for you to hear the budget presentations. When the budget presentation is taking place, sometimes people at work, sometimes they're out looking for work, sometimes they're out in town going about doing different business and so they don't get the time during the day to listen to the budget presentations, which is why we made sure the other side had to make sure and do what they had to do so you could hear them. We made sure that on Talking Points, on an evening time, we made sure that we played the budget presentation so that you can hear. Tomorrow, we will rebroadcast the presentation by Senator the Honorable Dwight Hosford. So those of you that didn't get the opportunity, you can get it then, and then it will be there. Just like if you go now, you can find the entire presentation by Senator the Honorable Mayana Charles, Senator Norland Cox, the Honorable Kate Skeeter, Louis Peters. You can find everybody's presentation there. So you can go on, you can listen to Dr. Mitchell from on Monday. All of those presentations are on the Talking Points pages. So if you've missed any of them, you can go there and you can view them. The final one to go up will be the full version of Senator the Honorable Dwight Hosford's, which will be going up in the morning, God's willing. And then over the weekend now, from time to time, you'll see us premiering various programs for the week. And we'll be doing that from now on the weekend. You'll just see Talking Points going live. We'll be broadcasting various programs that we've had for the week so far. So, folks, that's all the time we have on Talking Points for this week. In everything you say, everything you do, do it safe and secure. We want to be speaking to you. We want to be speaking with you. We definitely do not want to be speaking about you, like in the past tense. Folks, I am out of here. Love each and every one of you. My name is Sheldon Scott. See you all on Monday, God's willing.
I am giving you I am giving you put up your